At the end of March, the Greek Street Roundabout in Stockport closed for 1 year. This closure is to allow Murphy, working on behalf of Network Rail, to replace the bridge over the West Coast Mainline which supports the roundabout. The existing structure, dating from 1958, which is made up of 200 concrete beams, has reached the end of its serviceable life and needs to be replaced. This is a huge undertaking, requiring a prolonged closure of a busy roundabout and a 3-week closure of the West Coast Mainline. So the decision to replace the bridge hasn't been taken lightly. Since March, Murphy has been working with utility companies to divert utilities, and has also had to remove the roundabout so that the existing bridge can be dismantled. It was reported that historic human remains were found on part of the site during excavation, which had to be carefully removed before work could continue. Now that the prep work has been done, Network Rail has closed the railway so that the existing bridge can be removed and the new deck installed. This will involve using 2 large crawler cranes to lift the bridge beams from above the railway. During my visit to Stockport on Thursday, one of the cranes was in the process of being assembled, whilst other huge parts were being delivered to the site so that the second crane could also be assembled. Before the old deck can be removed, construction teams will first have to lower the overhead wires and then install a protective mat over the railway to protect the tracks from falling debris. Once the old bridge beams and supporting structure have been removed, the new bridge elements will be installed. The new bridge will be a concrete and steel composite structure made up of pre-manufactured bridge elements. These sections will be lifted into position using the crawler cranes, with the heaviest lift being around 100 tons. The bridge sections were manufactured in Ireland and were then shipped on board 40 HGVs from Dublin to Liverpool. The elements were then transported from Liverpool to Greater Manchester. Some will be stored on site, ready to be lifted into position, and others will be stored close by, near to Trafford Park. Those sections will be transported from Trafford Park to the site as and when they're needed. With so many individual elements used, it was vital that the work was meticulously planned, so that each section arrives just in time to be lifted into position. Once all of the bridge elements have been lifted into position, the bridge beams will then be covered in a layer of in situ poured concrete to form the deck. The use of off-site construction will allow Network Rail to close the railway for the shortest amount of time possible. Building a single large bridge deck close to the site may have saved even more time, but the constrained nature of the site means that building the deck offline in one go was unlikely to be a viable option. The width of the deck, which must support the roundabout, is also another reason why building the bridge offline would not have been practical. The structure, which is approximately 50 metres wide, also has to cross above 5 running lines, so it is a lot larger than a standard road over rail bridge. For that reason, constructing the deck out of smaller sections was likely the only practical solution. Although the railway is scheduled to reopen on the 23rd of August, the roundabout will remain closed until the spring of next year. This is because the main contractor, Murphy, will have to build a completely new roundabout and approach roads on top of the bridge deck, which is a big task in itself. Bryn Book, aka Show Me a Sign, will hopefully be releasing a video about the roundabout itself within the next few weeks, so be sure to head over to their channel and subscribe. There'll be a link in the description below. The closure of the railway means that no trains can operate from Manchester to Stockport, which will have a big impact on passengers. Rail replacement buses will operate from Stockport to Manchester Piccadilly, Wilmslow, Stoke and Macclesfield, while some rail services will be diverted from Manchester along the Style Line towards Wilmslow and Crewe. Avanti West Coast will operate services to London from Piccadilly, although it looks as if there will only be a 2 trains per hour service. with journey times ranging from 2 hours 16 to 2 hours 22 minutes. Cross-country services to Bournemouth and Bristol also appear to be operating via Wilmslow, as the route from Stockport to Macclesfield and Stoke will be closed. As always, if you're watching this during the closure, then do check before you travel. Network Rail is also taking the opportunity to carry out other enhancements on the West Coast Mainline between Stockport and Stafford, hence the closure of the 50-mile section from Manchester to Stafford. This work includes refurbishing the River Trent Viaduct in Stone and replacing tracks through Stone Station. The platform extension at Poynton will also be replaced, and the power supply and overhead wires in Stockport will be upgraded. A switch will also be replaced in Macclesfield. All being well, the route through Stockport should reopen on Saturday the 23rd of August. There is never a convenient time to close a 50-mile section of a major railway, and the timing of this closure will cause some frustration for people hoping to travel by rail over the school holidays. But the work in Stockport had to take place at some point, and it's good that Network Rail is taking the opportunity to carry out other work at the same time, which will improve reliability of the network. Carrying out multiple packages of upgrades now will also limit the number of closures and possessions that would have otherwise been required to complete the work.